Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Jen Wilson, and this is Leadership Lunch Chat. And with me today is my good friend, Amy Vetter. Amy, hi.
Hello.
So today, Amy and I thought that we would process the leadership idea of slowing down to speed up. And the idea or the concept is that perhaps, even though the whole world is moving at light speed and so much is changing and there are so many things going on, it's so easy to feel like we just have to go at that same light speed continuously. And we're overwhelmed and things could feel chaotic. And so then we stop feeling like we have control, whatever that is, that false feeling of organization and structure perhaps feels lost. We've got to slow down, regroup to speed up. So that's the idea. And we're welcoming comments as we talk about this today. And I'm going to let Amy start with her opening salvo and we'll go from there. Amy.
Hello, everyone. So I'm happy to be here with you today, Jen. And, I think in the work that Jen and I do, we have the opportunity to be working with so many different organizations, businesses, firms, associations, and, there's so much change that is needed. And what happens is that when we start pushing change, whatever is happening in your organization, a lot of times we don't take our foot off the gas of revenue goals we have to hit at the same time, or where we want something to be, instead of realizing that there is time that needs to be taken to get things settled before you can move to the next step. And I can tell you for myself, and I'm sure, Jen, you feel this way too, being an entrepreneur, being someone that is a creative, I would say over time, I've gotten better at this because, a lot of times I would have so many ideas, I want to move forward, and then I can start feeling the chaos around me of the people that work with me and realize that I needed to stop and slow down, where now I'm more measured in what is the next thing we need to do. And when I start throwing too many things at it, I can feel it immediately. I can feel it myself, and I can feel it with the people around me. And it's a very hard decision to make, to slow down or to not do every single thing that you want to do, so that you can get stability in one area, get people comfortable, get people confident, feel like they're in the right place and that they're doing a good job. Because at the end of the day, most people want to do a good job. And so when people are in the middle of chaos, they're not feeling like they are. And you start getting failure places that you don't even realize because it's going on in each person's head. And you can't see inside their head unless you're asking, unless you're slowing down to really understand what's happening and how to operationalize and change that. But it is very, very hard to do this. So if you're trying to hit revenue goals while you're trying to innovate or change or standardize a process or bring practices or investors in and changing a business model, this is the time to not put extra pressure before you get things stabilized.
No kidding. Yeah, I mean, chaos and overwhelm are a result, I think, of too many yeses. So we've just said yes to too many things, and they might not have been overt yeses. They're like implied or silent consent or something, but just too many agreements to internal initiatives, external initiatives, projects, clients, revenue commitments, change initiatives, whatever you want to call all those yeses. And so one thing that we did this year in strategic planning that is eye-opening, I think, and we do a whole bunch of bottoms up, a top down kind of analysis before we commit to our top 3 things. But this year, one of the things that we did was we took, before we went into strategic planning, we asked everybody to share all the internal projects and change initiatives that they knew of, that they were on or assigned to or owned. And we created a master list of those. And then in strategic planning, we mapped them by month. And it was obnoxious. It was, ridiculous is what it was. We then were like, oh my goodness. We were doing this in early March, or I think. And so we were like, look at March, no, that's not happening. It's not possible. This idea of unwinnable yeses. We're going to fail. Things are going to be hectic, and we're going to screw up all of it because we said yes to too many things instead of just trimming it down a little bit. And so putting them in real time frames is one of the ways that you can slow down, because we put them up on white pages around the room, and we were like, look at March and April, get real. Nobody has that kind of capacity. And so we were able to then say no to a few things, like this isn't that important, but also we were able to map and move them. And I know our organization's 11 people, we're small, we're a small business. You could do this departmentally though. You could do this by service line, or by sub-service line, or by segment, or there's 100 ways to do it. But to look at what are all the things, and like our Anytime Anywhere work survey, it's an external product, if you will, but it's an internal initiative to build it every other year. And so not everything in our projects list was not externally facing. It wasn't all just like polishing your desk, or converting data, or the stuff that it's important, all of it important, but not necessarily client project work. And when we mapped it by month, it was huge. And I think we've been really disciplined about knocking down the things we put in, realistic things we put in the months, but also, not throwing more yeses in. And that requires, people to be bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really having rigor around it. Yeah. And I think the important thing of what you were talking about too, of having everyone do that, is that we are not with everyone we work with every single day. And when people aren't good at setting boundaries or saying when something can get done, you don't even know what someone's agreed to. So they can seem frustrated and you don't understand why they're frustrated, but it's because they've agreed to something that you're not even aware of that they agreed to. And so it's really important to have those conversations and a reality check on what everybody's capable of, and really helping people to set those boundaries and be realistic on timelines of things that they can do, or is there someone else that can do it? But also, if you're trying to overhaul a process or a department or a structure of what people are working in, you cannot keep selling on the old model when your whole structure is changing. And you've got to stabilize your teams so that they feel confident in the workplace they're in and they don't have fear, and that your clients are getting the best service possible as well. And it is very, very hard to turn down work. But this sometimes is the only way to get and it's a 3-month thing, a 6-month thing, whatever you decide to do, but really make the decision of we're holding in status quo right now. Because we believe the things that we're overhauling as far as structure, infrastructure, processes, all of those things are so important. And if we can't create enough space to do it, we're just going to keep this cycle up of snowballing. And what needs to be dealt with is the fear of, what does this mean? Like, what does this mean for my business if I do something like this? And the fear that it may not work, right? And so while you're going through that process, it's really, really important that you are celebrating the wins along the way, even if they're small, so that people feel like it's still productive, because you're going to go through hard stuff, bad stuff as you're going through the process. But unfortunately, we spend so much time thinking about the worst case scenario or what might go wrong that we're not focused on, what are the wins that we've had today, this week, this month, whatever we need to do to keep the energy going.
Yeah. And it's like letting go. I mean, I'm while you were talking, I was just thinking about letting go, like if I'm saying no to some things so that I can say yes to some new things, as we're winding down the no things or stopping them altogether, maybe there's not a big wind down. There's the fear of letting go, like maybe this is a good strategic decision to do the yeses and get rid of the no's. But right now I'm scared to get rid of the no's because they're all I have or all I know. And so we have, this, you just talked about like faith and confidence, and in the strategy and being as fearless as possible about letting things go. Sometimes we hold on too long. So like, I'm going to use the example of like in May, every year, even though the economy is a little softer than it's been, even though interest rates continue to be high and inflation is not where we need to be, and even though it's an election year, we're all decently grossed out about that and concerned about its impact to business and our lives. So there, I call 2024 sort of uncertain, maybe from a business perspective. You still have to evaluate post-peak season clients that need to be fired. Sorry, we have to trim. That's a super easy example of saying no, so that you can say yes to other work. We have to say no to the wrong work so we can say yes to the right work. And we're all scared. Most people have a fear of loss. And so, that's just a really simple example, but May's a great month to evaluate clients that don't pay, clients that, which by the way, isn't a client. The definition of a client is but no pay, slow pay, mean, grumpy, grouchy, high risk, not in our target market. Don't value us, don't listen to our advice. I mean, that's the list, right? So to let those folks go, it's so scary because we think, could I get new ones? But you don't necessarily have to have all the yeses lined up. Just start the no's and you will create the space to make the yeses happen. And so I think sometimes what we do is we just try to keep limping along with the things we know we shouldn't keep doing, while we're trying to start the things we're committed to start, and we can't do them both because we don't have the capacity, mindset, brain space, bandwidth. So I think that's another thing to just recognize. The fear of loss is normal, but it shouldn't hold you back from cutting things out, saying no to some things that, there's a leap of faith component to this that has to happen. And your people really respect that. They'll really respect the risk taking of that. And they'll respect the discipline of no. They might not like it if it's their thing that's getting no, but most everybody recognizes it as leadership.
Yeah. The thing too is that when you're going through an overhaul process of trying to change the direction you're going or the things that you're doing, it usually takes more work than less. And it's really important to keep that vision on what is the time-bound period that this is going to take, so that everyone's aware that it's not forever. This is a short period of time to get through the chaos of turning a barge, turning and shifting into an area you haven't been. And to your point, there's nothing worse than having to turn down the right client coming in because you haven't fired the clients and created space. Because when those big clients come in with the right personas and profile, and you didn't make space so that you could take it on, there's nothing more gut wrenching than having to do that, and a lesson learned of we really got to make space. So there's no guarantees with anything. I mean, even in good times, we have no idea, how our business will be perceived. But the one thing is that we know we can never be stagnant. And we are going through a rapid period of change culturally, technologically, all the different structures that are coming in with investments or firm mergers and so forth. And how do you actually think those things through instead of just going about business like it's always been, and ignoring the fact that people aren't confident or feeling like they can succeed in that environment or know how they'll be seen. And I think really this comes down to the human side is most people want to be seen, right? They want to be noticed. They want people to care. So when you are hearing people complain, it's a sign that someone's in pain. So you, instead of complaining that person is complaining, it's the seeking to understand what is creating that and why are they in pain, so that you can figure out how to help solve that, or maybe they are in the wrong position and be able to let go, and either they're not going to be with you or they can move into another department or another area. If they're a quality person, it's just not fitting them the model you're moving to, right? And so all of those decisions are really hard, but you're actually doing the best thing for everybody when you do those things. And if you don't give yourself space to think through it, to strategize, to actually step back and work on your business and not just in it, and allow things to slow down enough that you can think, those decisions become haphazard, and then you don't really know why you've made the decisions you have.
No kidding. And the whole time there, I was thinking about something you and I've talked about a bunch, and it's a tool we use for analysis. So simple, so easy. Keep, stop, start. Mm-hmm. What should I keep doing? What should I stop doing? What do we want to start doing? And not just me off, in my own vacuum, making my own personal list of what I think the business should be keeping, stopping, and starting, or the service line, but getting input from everybody around you. And the people that are complaining, that's one of the first things I do with them, is to say, okay, let's go through a keep, stop, start on what you're doing, your role, what's happening over there. Let's figure out what has to stop, because there's almost always stuff to stop. Mm-hmm. To slow down before you speed up, it's, stop before you start. And you don't have to stop too much or everything or any of that, but there's always some stops. And I don't think most of us focus on that. And instead, we keep a pile of keeps. It's a little bit like hoarding, like if I was to come help clean out your garage, which is something I would love to do, because I would love to do stuff like that. I would be like, do you need this? And some people would be like, I need that, and I need that, and I need that. And there would be nothing that we could donate, nothing we could recycle, nothing's leaving. And we can't run our business like that. We can't have a practice that feels like it's being run by hoarders, and hoarding profits, hoarding retirement benefits, hoarding clients, hoarding services, hoarding, processes because I'm comfortable with them, hoarding systems because I don't want to learn a new one. Man, I really think that that's part of it. So this idea of stop, what are you going to stop? What are you going to say no to? And really rigorously evaluating yourself and getting input from others on your team. They know, by the way, and they're talking about the stops. They're talking about what's happening. They're frustrated by it, and they want stuff to stop. So ask them, and they'll tell you, and then be prepared to do them. Hi, Neil. Nice to see you.
So I think, it's just a good point that if you don't ask, the problem is it doesn't mean they're not talking about it. So if you really want to get over it and move.
So is she gone? Okay, I didn't know if it was my Wi-Fi or Amy's.
Yeah, I think it was me. Yeah.
Okay. Come back to me, Amy.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where I left off there, but in the gap of communication, there's two different perspectives, and it's really important that if you want to move forward and make sure that you're getting positive results on any change, that you're going through the listening process, you're slowing down before you speed up, and making sure, like Jen said, that what things can you stop doing so that you can make space to do the things that are going to make the biggest impact.
And people can live in chaos for a while, but they won't stay in it.
Yes.
So your best and brightest will bail if they don't feel control or structure process, winnability. I like to call it winnability. If they don't think winnability is where we're headed, they'll put up with a little chaos, but they don't want to live in constant chaos. They'll also put up with really structured, high peak periods of work if they know there's an end in sight with improvement at that end. Right. Not just, oh my gosh, at the end, nothing improved and it's still a wreck. And I'm going to do this again and I can feel it coming. So anyway, I love this conversation, Amy, and we had a lot of folks with us live, which is fun. And sure appreciate all of you and the inspiration you give us for topics and ideas. Please keep that coming and send us ideas via social or hit us up directly on many different channels. You can reach us. And I don't know, Emily, if you have any idea if we're on next Friday or not, or if anybody knows. I've got to pay better attention, but Amy and I are not on a really strong cadence of every Friday.
We are on
next week, so that's exciting. We'll be back at a better, steadier cadence, but we accidentally scheduled a bunch of stuff. We said too many yeses. We said too many yeses.
Yes.
But anyway, thanks for being here with us today. Super glad to see you, and we'll see you next Friday. Thanks.